Contact and conflict. The diplomat's translator malfunctioned at the worst possible moment. 1 second, Ambassador Eliza Chen was exchanging formal greetings with the Vicary delegation, and the next, her words emerged as what sounded like a challenge to their leadership's lineage, at least according to the frantic whispers from her cultural attaché. "They're reaching for weapons," Lieutenant Sampson murmured into her earpiece. "Something's wrong." Ambassador Chen maintained her smile, raising her empty hands in the universal gesture of peace. "There appears to be a misunderstanding," she said slowly, hoping the backup translator was picking up her words correctly. But the tallest Vicary, Commander Vrex, if she remembered correctly, had already risen to his full height, nearly 9 feet of armored exoskeleton. His breathing apparatus clicked rhythmically as his 4 arms moved in precise, practiced patterns. The translation was accurate. Vrex announced, his voice emerging as synthetic, emotionless English. "Your species has been deemed unacceptably dangerous. The Council has rescinded the diplomatic invitation." The room erupted into chaos. Security personnel from both species reached for weapons simultaneously. Lieutenant Sampson managed to grab Chen and pull her toward the exit, but the room was suddenly filled with a pale purple mist. "Gas!" someone shouted before collapsing. Chen felt her muscles seizing up as her consciousness faded. The last thing she saw was Lieutenant Sampson falling beside her, his hand still reaching for his sidearm. Captain Marcus Reeves opened his eyes to darkness so complete it felt solid. His military training kicked in immediately. Assess injuries, determine location, evaluate threats. A quick mental inventory confirmed his body was intact, though his head throbbed and his mouth tasted like he'd been gargling metal filings. The surface beneath him was cold, slightly textured, some kind of alien alloy. The air carried an antiseptic scent with undertones of something electrical. "Anyone else awake?" he whispered into the darkness. "Captain." The voice belonged to Ambassador Chen. "I'm here. Lieutenant Sampson is unconscious beside me. Dr. Harrison and 3 security team members are also here. The rest, I don't know." Reeves's eyes were gradually adjusting to the darkness. Faint outlines of bodies on the floor became visible, illuminated by dim bioluminescent strips along the edges of what appeared to be a cell. "What happened at the reception?" he asked, keeping his voice low. "They said we were unacceptably dangerous, and then gassed us," Chen replied, her diplomat's composure cracking slightly. "This doesn't make sense. The Vicary specifically requested this summit. They've been pursuing diplomatic relations for months." Reeves had been suspicious from the beginning. As military attaché to the diplomatic mission, he'd voiced concerns about meeting the Vicary on their orbital station, rather than neutral ground. But the Vicary had insisted, citing cultural protocols, and Earth's United Space Command was eager to establish another alien alliance. "I think this was planned from the start," Reeves said, slowly sitting up. His restraints, some kind of energy field, allowed limited movement. "They wanted us here for a reason." A hissing sound announced the cell door opening. Light flooded in, momentarily blinding them. Tall silhouettes of Vicary soldiers filled the doorway. "Humans," a mechanically translated voice announced. "The one called Reeves will come with us." 2 soldiers entered and deactivated his restraints. Reeves briefly considered resistance, but decided information was more valuable right now. He allowed them to escort him out, memorizing the layout of the corridors they passed through. The interrogation room was sterile and brightly lit. Commander Vrex waited inside, along with another Vicary whose elaborate breathing apparatus marked him as someone of higher rank. Captain Marcus Reeves, the higher-ranked Vicary, said, "I am Supreme Commander Xal. You will answer our questions truthfully." Reeves remained standing at attention, meeting the alien's compound eyes without flinching. "Under Earth Protocol 7B, I am only required to provide name, rank, and identification number." The Vicary exchanged looks that Reeves couldn't interpret through their rigid exoskeletons. Commander Vrex approached, towering over him. Your diplomatic protocols are irrelevant. Your species has been classified as a Class 1 threat. We require information about your military capabilities, specifically your biological enhancement programs. Reeves kept his expression neutral, though inwardly he was puzzled. Earth had strict regulations against biological enhancements for military personnel, a lesson learned from the gene wars of the late 21st century. I'm not aware of any such programs, he replied truthfully. Commander Vrex made a clicking sound that the translator didn't convert, then explained how unaugmented humans survived the Krell mining disaster on Proxima B3. Now Reeves was genuinely confused. The Proxima B3 incident had been a civilian mining operation gone wrong. A team of human engineers had survived for weeks in toxic conditions after a collapse until rescue arrived. It was considered a triumph of human endurance and ingenuity, not military capability. Those were civilian engineers using emergency protocols and improvised equipment, Reeves explained. No enhancements involved, just training and determination. Supreme Commander Xal leaned forward. Impossible. Our scientists have analyzed the conditions. No species could survive without technological or biological assistance. Humans are adaptable, Reeves said simply. The statement provoked an unexpected reaction. The Vicari leaders stepped back, their breathing apparatus clicking rapidly in what Reeves suspected was their version of agitation. You were not informed, Saul said after a moment. Your leadership keeps secrets even from their military. Informed about what? Reeves asked. Instead of answering, Saul activated a holographic display. It showed footage of various human accomplishments, explorers surviving in extreme conditions, soldiers continuing to fight despite severe injuries, emergency responders working beyond normal endurance limits. Your species' capacity for survival defies biological norms, Saul said. We believe humans are either naturally evolved super soldiers or the result of ancient genetic engineering. Reeves almost laughed, despite the situation. We're just stubborn. It's not that complicated. Then explain this. The display changed to show a human child lifting a vehicle to free a trapped parent, one of those extraordinary feats of hysterical strength that occasionally made the news. Adrenaline, Reeves said. In crisis situations, humans can temporarily override normal physical limitations. At cellular energy costs that should be fatal, Vrex interjected. Yet humans recover. The conversation was becoming increasingly bizarre. These advanced aliens seemed genuinely frightened of normal human physiology. Why does this matter? Reeves asked. Earth has followed all Treaty of Arcturus protocols. We've been transparent about our military capabilities. Supreme Commander Xol made a gesture, and the display changed again, this time showing an ancient artifact of clearly non-human design. Are you familiar with Krell technology? Xol asked. Everyone in the military knew about the Krell, an extinct species whose artifacts occasionally surfaced throughout the galaxy. Their technology was so advanced it sometimes appeared magical, but it was notoriously difficult to operate. I know of them, Reeves answered carefully. The Krell left weapons, Xol continued. Weapons that respond only to certain neurological patterns. We believe them to be inert until humans touched them. Reeves kept his face impassive, but his mind was racing. If what Kel was saying was true, it would explain the Vicari's sudden hostility. A species with exclusive access to Krell weapons would have an overwhelming military advantage. We haven't encountered any such weapons, he said truthfully. Perhaps not yet, Vrex replied. But our intelligence suggests your exploration vessels are approaching a major Krell archive. The Council has determined preemptive action is necessary. You're planning to attack Earth, Reeves realized aloud. The threat must be contained, Kel stated without emotion. Your diplomatic mission was brought here to extract information that might minimize casualties. Cooperation would be in your people's best interest. Reeves straightened his shoulders. If you believe humans are dangerous now, you have no idea what we're capable of when we're fighting to protect our home. The statement wasn't meant as a threat, merely a statement of fact. But the Vicari clearly took it as confirmation of their fears. Commander Freck stepped back, placing one hand on what Reeves assumed was a weapon. "Return him to the cell," Call ordered. "Prepare the next subject for interrogation." As they led him back through the corridors, Reeves took careful note of everything: guard rotations, door mechanisms, ventilation shafts. His military training had prepared him for captivity, but it had also taught him something else. There was always a way out. Humans had been escaping impossible situations since they first walked upright. And now, with Earth in danger, he would prove just how adaptable humans could be. Resistance and revelation. "They're going to attack Earth," Captain Reeves whispered once the guards had departed, leaving the human delegation alone in their cell. Ambassador Chen's face paled in the dim light. "Are you certain?" "They believe we're some kind of super soldiers," Reeves explained, gathering the conscious members of the delegation into a tight circle. "Something about our biology makes us compatible with ancient alien weapons. They're terrified of what will happen if we gain access to them." Dr. Harrison, the mission's xenobiologist, frowned. "That makes no sense. Human physiology isn't particularly exceptional by galactic standards." "Except for our endurance," Lieutenant Sampson interjected, wincing as he touched the bruise forming on his temple. "Remember the briefing on the Vicari? They're burst energy species, powerful in short bursts but quick to fatigue. Most spacefaring species evolved on high-gravity worlds with resource-rich environments." Harrison's eyes widened with understanding, while humans evolved as persistent hunters on the savannas, able to maintain moderate energy output for extraordinary periods. "That still doesn't explain why they think we can operate Krell technology," Chen said. Reeves knelt down and began examining the cell more carefully. "We can figure that out later. Right now, we need to focus on getting out of here and warning Earth." The cell was roughly hexagonal, with smooth metallic walls that gave slightly under pressure. The only opening was the door, a seamless panel that had hissed open when the guards arrived. No visible controls or access panels existed inside the cell. "What's the plan, Captain?" Sampson asked, his military training kicking in as he deferred to Reeves' higher rank. "First, we need to understand their patrol pattern," Reeves replied. "They've taken Dr. Harrison's smartwatch but missed mine." He showed his wrist, where what appeared to be a simple analog watch remained. "Basic chronometer function still works. Let's time their checks." Over the next several hours, they established that guards checked the cell every 43 minutes, an odd interval that Dr. Harrison suggested might relate to the Vicari's different time perception. "They've taken everything useful," Lieutenant Zhang, one of the security team members, complained after searching everyone's pockets. "No tools, no weapons." "We have something better," Reeves said quietly. "We have human ingenuity and something they don't expect us to have." He carefully removed his watch, turned it over, and pressed a recessed button on its side. The back plate slid open to reveal a tiny compartment containing what looked like a small silver pill. "Is that what I think it is?" Sampson asked, eyes widening. Reeves nodded. "Emergency extraction beacon. Military issue, undetectable by standard scans. Once activated, it'll transmit our coordinates to any Earth vessel within 5 light years." The U.S. Defiant was shadowing our mission, John remembered. "Standard protocol for first diplomatic contact." "Exactly," Reeves confirmed. "But the beacon needs more power than its built-in battery can provide, and we need to be ready when help arrives." Ambassador Chen straightened her shoulders, diplomatic dignity giving way to steely resolve. "Tell us what to do, Captain." The next time the guards came, they took Dr. Harrison. When they returned him 2 hours later, the xenobiologist was pale and shaken. "They're obsessed with our adrenal response," he whispered once the guards had left. "They showed me footage of humans in crisis situations, mothers lifting vehicles off children, soldiers continuing to fight despite critical injuries. They think it's impossible without augmentation." "Did you learn anything useful?" Reeves asked. Harrison nodded. Their security system runs on a centralized grid, and I got a better look at the station layout. We're in the detention block of what appears to be a much larger research facility. And Captain, he leaned closer, I saw other prisoners, non-Vicari species. Allies? Chen asked hopefully. Hard to say, but there was one cell that seemed particularly heavily guarded. The Vicari guards showed unusual deference when passing it. Reeves filed this information away. Anything else? Yes, Harrison said, his voice dropping even lower. There's a laboratory section adjacent to the detention block. I glimpsed what I believe was Krell technology, artifacts with the characteristic blue-silver alloy and circular inscriptions. This confirmed what Supreme Commander Xal had revealed during interrogation. The Vicari had Krell technology they couldn't use, technology they feared humans could operate. Our priority remains escape and warning Earth, Reeves reminded the group. But if we can understand why they're so afraid of us, it might give us leverage. Their opportunity came 3 rotation cycles later. Reeves had managed to boost the beacon's signal using components from their cell's lighting system, cleverly rewired during the dark periods when the guards were less attentive. The plan was simple but required precise timing. When the guards came to take Ambassador Chen for questioning, Lieutenant Sampson would fake a seizure, creating a distraction. During the commotion, Reeves and Zhang would overpower the guards while Harrison activated the beacon. The plan worked flawlessly until the alarm sounded. They must have backup systems, Zhang shouted as they secured the guards' weapons, rifle-like devices that hummed with energy. No time to disable them, Reeves decided. Ambassador, can you operate those weapons? Chen gave a grim smile. Required training for diplomatic personnel in contested regions. Reeves nodded appreciatively. Good. Harrison, Zhang, take point. Ambassador, with me. Samson, bring up the rear. We move for the laboratory section first, then find an external communications array to boost our beacon signal. They moved swiftly through the corridors, encountering surprisingly little resistance. Most Vicari appeared to be evacuating, treating the human escape as a major security threat rather than confronting them directly. They really are afraid of us, Chen observed as they passed yet another abandoned security checkpoint. The laboratory section was exactly where Harrison had described. Inside, they found workstations arranged around what was unmistakably Krell technology. Sleek artifacts of unknown purpose, their surfaces inscribed with circular patterns that seemed to shift under direct observation. Those patterns, Harrison whispered, approaching one of the artifacts. They're similar to human neural pathways when mapped in 3 dimensions. Is that why they think we can operate them? Reeves asked. Possibly. The Krell were known to create technology that interfaced directly with consciousness. Most species' brains are too dissimilar to establish a connection, but maybe human neural architecture is compatible by coincidence. A noise from the laboratory entrance interrupted their speculation. They turned to find themselves face to face with Commander Vrex and a squad of heavily armed Vicari soldiers. Return to your cell immediately, Vrex demanded, his translator rendering the words with mechanical precision. This facility will self-destruct in 15 minutes. Supreme Commander Xal has determined that destruction of the Krell artifacts is preferable to human acquisition. You'd sacrifice yourselves just to keep these artifacts from us? Chen asked incredulously. Command personnel have already evacuated, Vrex replied. Only essential security remains. Reeves stepped forward, deliberately placing himself between the Vicari and the Krell artifacts. Your leaders are acting on fear, not evidence. We have no interest in weapons. We came here for peaceful diplomatic relations. Your words are irrelevant, Vrex stated. Humans cannot be trusted with Krell technology. Your evolutionary path is aberrant. You should have destroyed yourselves centuries ago through warfare, as most aggressive species do. Instead, you channeled your violence into persistence, into endurance. You turned disadvantages into strengths. You adapt at rates that defy normal evolutionary processes. That's just being human, Reeves replied. We survive. Precisely, came a new voice, rasping, fluid, entirely non-mechanical. From the shadows of the laboratory emerged a figure unlike any alien Reeves had encountered before. Tall, slender, with iridescent skin that seemed to shift colors with each movement, the being moved with unsettling grace. A myriad, Dr. Harrison breathed. They're supposed to be mythical. The alien inclined its elongated head. Not mythical. Merely selective about our appearances. Its English was perfect, unmediated by translation devices. I am Sentinel Call, observer for the Galactic Concordance. Commander Vrex and his soldiers immediately lowered their weapons, their body language displaying what Reeves interpreted as profound deference. The Concordance has been monitoring this situation, Kittel continued. The Vekari's fears are not entirely unfounded, but their conclusions are flawed. You know why they think we can use Krell technology? Reeves asked. Indeed. Kittel approached one of the artifacts, a spherical device about the size of a human head. The Krell were not a species as you understand the term. They were a collective consciousness that evolved beyond physical form. Their technology was designed to respond to certain mental states rather than specific biological traits. The alien's long fingers hovered over the sphere, which remained inert. Most species approach technology as masters. They seek to control it, to bend it to their will. The Krell designed their devices to respond only to those who approach with respect, with a willingness to learn and adapt. Kittel turned to face the humans. Your species' unique evolutionary path, the persistence, the adaptability, the capacity to view failure as merely another step toward success, creates neural patterns surprisingly compatible with Krell interfaces. So we're not super soldiers, Lieutenant Sampson said with evident relief. No, Kittel agreed. You are something the Vekari find far more terrifying. Learners who never give up. In the history of galactic civilization, species with your particular combination of traits either destroy themselves quickly or ascend to remarkable achievements. The Vekari feared you would become the latter before they could contain you. Commander Vrex stepped forward. The self-destruct sequence cannot be aborted. This knowledge must not leave this facility. It already has, Kittel replied calmly. The Concordance has been observing humanity for some time. We find your potential intriguing. The alien turned to Reeves. Captain, place your hand on the sphere. Reeves hesitated, but something in Kittel's ageless eyes inspired trust. He approached the Krell artifact and placed his palm against its cool surface. The effect was immediate. The sphere hummed to life, its surface patterns glowing with soft blue light. Reeves felt a gentle presence touch his mind. Not invasive but questioning, evaluating. What is it doing? He asked, resisting the urge to pull his hand away. It is a repository of knowledge, Kittel explained. One of many the Krell left behind. It is determining if you are ready to receive what it contains. The sphere's glow intensified, spreading up Reeves' arm and enveloping his body. Information flooded his consciousness, not weapons or military secrets, but knowledge of stars and civilizations, of scientific principles beyond current human understanding, of philosophical concepts that expanded his perception of reality itself. When the glow faded, Reeves stepped back, momentarily overwhelmed. It's not a weapon, he managed to say. It's a library. The Vekari's greatest fear, Kittel said with what might have been amusement, was that humans would learn too quickly. They failed to understand that true knowledge includes wisdom. The sphere would not have activated for one who sought only power. A warning klaxon sounded, reminding them of the imminent destruction. The Concordance vessel will extract you, Kittel announced. The knowledge you have received, Captain Reeves, is offered freely. How humanity uses it will determine your species' future relationship with the wider galactic community. As the alien spoke, the familiar sensation of molecular transportation enveloped them. The last thing Reeves saw before the Vicari facility disappeared was Commander Vrex staring at him, not with hatred, but with something that looked remarkably like respect. 1 month later, Ambassador Chen stood before the United Earth Council, concluding her report on the Vicari incident. The Galactic Concordance has extended formal recognition to humanity, she announced. Their representatives have expressed interest in establishing permanent diplomatic relations. And the knowledge Captain Reeves received from the Krell artifact? The Council President asked. Ambassador Chen smiled. Our scientists are still processing it, but already it's revolutionizing our understanding of faster-than-light travel and sustainable energy production. More importantly, it contains star charts identifying other Krell repositories throughout the galaxy. And the Vicari threat? Neutralized for now. The Concordance has made it clear that unprovoked aggression against Earth would violate interstellar conventions. However, Kittel suggested that future peaceful interactions with the Vicari remain possible. They feared us because they didn't understand us. As the council session concluded, Chen found Captain Reeves waiting outside the chamber. Since their return, he had been working closely with scientists to translate the Krell knowledge into applicable technology. They're calling it the Reeves process, he said with mild embarrassment. I've told them repeatedly that I'm just the messenger. Chen smiled. Sometimes the messenger is as important as the message. The Krell could have left their knowledge with any species, but it waited millennia for humans to find it. Not because we're special, Reeves insisted, but because we're stubborn enough to keep trying when others would give up. Exactly, Chen agreed. The most terrifying thing about humanity isn't our weapons or our strength. It's our refusal to accept failure as final. The Vicari saw it as a threat, but the Concordance sees it as potential. As they walked together toward the Council's observation deck, Earth gleamed blue and peaceful below them. In orbit, construction had already begun on humanity's first true deep space exploration vessel, incorporating principles from the Krell knowledge. What do you think we'll find out there? Chen asked, gazing at the stars beyond. Reeves considered the question, feeling the echo of ancient wisdom still settling into his understanding. I don't know, he admitted. But whatever it is, we'll face it the way humans always have. Together, one step at a time, for as long as it takes. The starlight reflected in their eyes, not as conquerors or weapon seekers, but as explorers and learners. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, the ancient consciousness that had once been the Krell continued its patient observation, satisfied that its legacy had found worthy inheritors at last. Expansion and evolution. 6 months after the Vicari incident, Earth had changed. The knowledge from the Krell repository had accelerated human technological development by what experts estimated to be 50 years. New energy sources, material science breakthroughs, and medical advances were being implemented worldwide. But perhaps the most significant change was humanity's newfound place in the galactic community. Captain Marcus Reeves stood on the observation deck of the HFY Horizon, Earth's first diplomatic vessel designed with Krell-inspired technology. The ship hummed with an energy that felt almost alive, responsive to its crew in ways that previous spacecraft never could be. Impressive, isn't it? Lieutenant Commander Sampson said, joining him at the viewport. Since their return, Sampson had been promoted and assigned as Reeves' second-in-command for this mission. It still doesn't feel real sometimes, Reeves admitted, watching the stars streak by at speeds previously thought impossible. The Horizon's drive system didn't exactly break the laws of physics. It just operated within parameters humans hadn't understood before. The Concordance representatives are ready for your briefing, Captain, Sampson reported. Ambassador Chen asked me to remind you that this is primarily a diplomatic mission. Reeves smiled slightly. Is she worried I'm going to start an interstellar incident? Let's just say she suggested emphasizing our peaceful adaptability, rather than our tenacious resistance. Noted, Reeves replied with a nod. Let's not keep our guests waiting. The briefing room was designed to accommodate multiple species comfortably. another innovation derived from Krell principles of adaptive space. Kull, the myriad representative of the galactic concordance, waited alongside delegates from 3 other species new to human contact. A teller, whose crystalline exoskeleton refracted light in hypnotic patterns, and Novan, whose gelatinous form contained visible neural networks, and a Durex, whose 6-limbed body moved with precise, mechanical efficiency. Captain Reeves. Cuttle greeted him, the myriad's iridescent skin shifting to warm tones. Your vessel is most impressive for such recent acquaintance with advanced principles. We're quick studies, Reeves replied with diplomatic modesty. Indeed, the Durex delegate interjected, its translator rendering its clicking speech into crisp English. Perhaps too quick. Some concordance members expressed concern about humanity's rate of technological adoption. The teller's crystalline features shifted in what Reeves had learned was disapproval. Rick speaks out of turn. The Durex Collective has always been conservative regarding emerging species. No offense is taken, Reeves assured them. Humanity understands caution. We've made catastrophic mistakes in our own history by developing technology faster than our wisdom to use it properly. Hill made a fluid gesture that indicated approval. This self-awareness is precisely why the Concordance approved this mission. Captain Reeves, please share your findings on the Krell artifact locations. Reeves activated the room's holographic display. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy materialized, with specific regions highlighted in pulsing blue light. Based on the coordinates extracted from the repository, we've identified 7 additional Krell sites within feasible travel distance, Reeves explained. The closest is in what we call the Taurus sector, approximately 3 weeks' journey our current capabilities. The abandoned zones, the Novan delegate observed, ripples of concern visible in its translucent body. No concordant species maintains presence there. Is there a specific reason? Samson asked. The alien delegates exchanged looks that transcended species differences, a universal expression of unease. The abandoned zones are precisely that. Abandoned, Catel finally explained. 3 million years ago, they were thriving regions of space. Then, within a single generation, all advanced life disappeared. Natural disaster, Reeves suggested. Unknown, the teller replied, crystals chiming softly with agitation. Probe missions found intact cities, functioning technology, but no biological remains whatsoever. Most concordant species consider the zones unfortunate. Reeves noted the careful language. You mean they consider them cursed? Superstition is not exclusive to humanity, Catal acknowledged. But there is a more practical concern. The zones exist in proximity to territories claimed by the Vekari Dominion. The holographic display shifted, revealing the political boundaries of known space. The Vekari control a surprisingly large region, especially for a species humans had only recently encountered. They've been expanding aggressively for the past century, the Durex explained. The Concordance maintains a policy of non-interference with internal development, but the Vekari approach to expansion has caused concern. They absorb or eliminate, the Novan added, its translator unable to fully capture the emotional ripples visible in its body. 16 species have been incorporated into their dominion. None maintain cultural autonomy. And they're particularly interested in Krell technology, Reeves concluded, understanding dawning. That's why they reacted so strongly to us. Kittel's skin shifted to deeper hues. The Vekari have located several Krell repositories, but have been unable to access them. When their intelligence suggested humans might possess the capability they lack, they saw us as an existential threat, Samson finished. This complicates our mission, Reeves acknowledged. But it doesn't change our objectives. Humanity needs to understand the Krell knowledge, not for weapons or dominance, but because it offers solutions to problems we've struggled with for generations. Which is precisely why this mission was approved, Kittel said. The Concordance believes humanity's intentions are genuinely exploratory rather than expansionist. However, the Vekari will not make such distinctions. The briefing continued with discussions of safe approach vectors and emergency protocols. Throughout, Reeves couldn't shake the feeling that they were being told only part of the story. The Concordance representatives were forthcoming about tactical concerns, but vague about the Krell themselves or what had happened to the abandoned zones. When the meeting concluded, Reeves asked Kittle to remain behind. "There's something you're not telling us," he said once they were alone. "Something about the Krell repositories specifically." Kittle's skin rippled with what might have been amusement or concern. "Your neural patterns are indeed compatible with Krell interfaces, Captain. You sense the undercurrents." "I'm not reading your mind," Reeves clarified. "I'm reading your diplomatic caution." "Very well." Kittle moved to the viewport, gazing at the stars. The Krell did not merely leave behind knowledge. They left behind pieces of themselves. "I don't understand." "The repositories are not simple databases. They contain fragments of Krell consciousness, echoes of their collective mind. Each time you interface with a repository, you do not merely receive information. You enter into communion with what remains of an ancient awareness." Reeves considered this revelation. "Is that dangerous?" "Not in the way you imagine. The Krell were not conquerors. They were explorers and preservers. But communion changes those who experience it. The knowledge reshapes neural pathways, expands perception. Few species can withstand this transformation without fracturing. But you think humans can." "We know humans can. You already have." Kittle turned to face him. "The repository you accessed on the Vakari station was small, limited. Yet you integrated its knowledge without psychological damage. Your brain adapted to accommodate new paradigms, while maintaining your essential human identity." Reeves felt a chill. "And if we access the larger repositories?" "You will change," Kittle said simply. "Not into something else, but into more complete versions of yourselves. This is what truly terrifies the Vakari. Not that humans might access weapons, but that you might evolve beyond their ability to control or understand." "Does the Concordance share this fear?" "The Concordance takes the long view, Captain. New species rise and fall. Those who survive their evolutionary bottlenecks join us in time." Reeves sensed the conversation had reached its limit. "Thank you for your candor, Kittle." The Myriad inclined its head. "One last thing, Captain. The repository coordinates you received are not random. They form a sequence, a path. The Krell intended them to be accessed in a specific order, each preparing the mind for the next." With that cryptic statement, Kittle departed, leaving Reeves alone with his thoughts. 3 days later, deep in unexplored space, the Horizon's sensors detected an anomaly. "Unidentified vessel on intercept course," the tactical officer reported. "Configuration unknown, but mass readings suggest it's larger than anything in our database." Reeves studied the readings. Time to intercept: 17 minutes at current velocity. "Hail them." "No response on any frequency, Captain." "Yellow alert. Inform Ambassador Chen and have our Concordance guests join us on the bridge." Within minutes, the bridge was crowded with the diplomatic contingent. Kittle studied the sensor readings with obvious concern. "This vessel does not match any Concordance design," the Myriad confirmed. "Vakari?" Reeves asked. "Negative," the Durex delegate replied. "Vakari vessels utilize distinctive propulsion signatures. This is unknown." The tactical display updated as the ship drew closer. Its design defied conventional spacefaring logic, asymmetrical, with segments that appeared to phase in and out of normal space. "It's beautiful," Ambassador Chen whispered. And it was, in the way that deep-sea predators were beautiful. Functional, elegant, utterly alien. "We're being scanned," the tactical officer reported. "Our shields are holding, but, sir, the scans are penetrating areas they shouldn't be able to reach. They're accessing our computer core," the science officer added with alarm. "Somehow bypassing all security protocols." "Cut power to the core," Reeves ordered. Too late, they've already withdrawn. They took everything. Star charts, mission parameters, personnel files. A new alert sounded. Captain, they're transmitting. Audio only. Reeves nodded. Let's hear it. The voice that emerged from the speakers wasn't synthesized or translated. It spoke perfect English, but with cadences that felt fundamentally wrong, as if human speech were being reproduced by something that had never possessed a mouth. Humans, it said, seekers of Krell wisdom, we have waited. Reeves glanced at Kittle, whose skin had paled to near translucence. This is Captain Marcus Reeves of the Earth Federation ship Horizon. We are on a peaceful mission of exploration. We know your purpose, the voice replied. We know all purposes. The repositories call to you. You hear their song where others hear nothing. Who are you? Ambassador Chen asked, stepping forward. A pause, as if the question required consideration. We are the caretakers. We watch. We preserve. We wait. For what? Reeves asked. For those who can understand. The cycle nears completion. The teller delegate suddenly moved forward, crystals vibrating with agitation. Are you responsible for the abandoned zones? Another pause, longer this time. Life abandons. We preserve. Without warning, the alien vessel accelerated away, disappearing from sensors within seconds. What just happened? Samson demanded. Kittle's skin had shifted to deep indigo, a color Reeves had never seen on the myriad before. The caretakers are considered a myth among concordant species. They appear in the oldest records, observers who neither help nor harm, who watch civilizations rise and fall. You knew they existed, Reeves realized. You knew they were connected to the Krell repositories. We suspected, Kittal admitted, but no concordant species has had direct contact in recorded history. Until now, Ambassador Chen said. Why us? Why humans? They said it themselves, the Novan delegate interjected, its form pulsing with excitement or fear. You hear what others cannot. Reeves turned to his science officer. Analysis of their vessel. Impossible to classify with our current understanding, sir. It appeared to utilize spatial principles we've only begun to theorize about based on the Krell knowledge. And what did they access from our computers? Everything, sir. But they also left something behind. The science officer brought up a new display, a complex mathematical sequence that expanded across the screen. It appears to be coordinates, she explained. More precise versions of the repository locations we already had, plus additional locations we weren't aware of. A gift, Kittal murmured. Or a test. Reeves studied the new data. Whatever it is, we need to understand it. Our mission parameters haven't changed. We proceed to the first repository location. As the bridge crew returned to their duties, Reeves noticed Ambassador Chen staring at the view screen where the alien vessel had been. Something on your mind, Ambassador? They said the cycle nears completion, she replied quietly. What cycle? And what happens when it completes? It was a question none of them could answer, but as the Horizon continued its journey toward the first Krell repository, Reeves couldn't shake the feeling that humanity had just been drawn into something far older and more complex than they had imagined. A cosmic game where they were merely the latest players, and the rules had yet to be fully revealed. The true test of human adaptability was just beginning.